I'm consenting.
Nothing like starting off with a little bit of laughter.
Yeah,
Do
yeah.
people call you Chuck, or am I the only one?
So it's interesting.
Or do they just do you just demand Dr. Charles
Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah.
Bradford Cooper? Is that what you make
Or
people call you?
PhD. Um,
Right, right. Sorry. See, I shortened all that to Chuck.
yeah, yeah. No, it's fantastic. I love the letters at the end of my name. At one time, I put all of the letters at the end of my name. I put it on the resume. I went to interview with this lady. She said, "What are all these letters for?" You know, I'm like, I have a PMP certification. I found out there was a pimp certification. I'm down. You know,
How do I
but
give you one of those?
I showed up to take the test, you know, and like my top hat, and, you know, my ascot, and it was.
That's funny. You have this little like George R. R. Martin thing going on right now. Did you
Oh
do that on purpose?
no, no, this is
You just need to grow a little more.
yeah, clearly every once in a while I do trim, so I don't have as much hair as George R. R.
I don't
Martin.
know that we need to talk about your trimming anymore,
Okay,
like ever again.
okay, I'm good with, I'm good with that. But let's go back to the name, because you've hit on an Easter egg for my book, The More Complete Second Verse, and the complete second verse, the one that
Right,
you.
I have that one. We were just talking about that. I see. There's my background again. Is eating it up. I have to put it in front of me.
There you go.
I have that one, but I don't
Beautiful.
have the more. But I love that. I love that my name is in here. So that's exciting.
Yeah.
Editors, Stella. That's really exciting. And I got to tell you, before you talk about your Easter egg, I'm so super proud of you. What did you do with this one with proceeds?
Uh, about four.
I don't mean volume. I mean, like, what didn't you donate your proceeds?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to tell us
Yeah.
how many you sold.
No,
But
it was you know, all of it went, and the other one too. All of it went straight to what's called the Veterans Writing Project, that's run out of Bethesda, Maryland,
that's
and
awesome.
people like me, people who are veterans, who have some semblance of how to write, go and meet with groups of guys back from Iraq, Afghanistan, combat in general. I've worked with Vietnam vets, and everything from Vietnam to now, right? And taught them something that these books taught me, is that sometimes the best counseling is to sit down with yourself and write. And because there are things like, I don't know if you're like this, but I'm like this. Most men I know are, right? It is, when it comes to, we can talk for, 40 hours straight and never say a thing meaningful about emotions, right?
Yeah.
So, tough thing to get. And so sitting down in a counselor's office, or in a psychiatrist's office, and trying to tell them why you feel the way you feel or whatever, is next to impossible. And
Yeah.
in a lot of cases worse, because men, we all think we know what was right to begin with. We've learned
You
to.
were right at the beginning. Hey, stop barking, please. Sorry about the dog.
It's okay. The
Going.
background is actually screened out the dog too, so he's not even in.
It's so loud. Like yeah. So
yeah, so not just
you sent proceeds to the organization to get people like yourself in positions to talk to these guys, or to help them write, or like, where does that money go?
So the money goes to the organization. The organization funds an online sort of easing for
That's
guys
cool.
writing. It's called odark30.com. And you can go on there, and they do publish like a literary journal for veterans who are writing. And then obviously it goes to maintain the website. It pays a couple of guys salary who this is
Right.
their full-time job, and then just they manage, like if I went to Bethesda or I went to Walter Reed or the Bowling Green place here in Leesburg, and sat down with guys and said, I'm going to talk to you about what I did, what worked for me. And so that goes to the heart of the poetry that I've been writing for the past, 6-7 years, which is
Yeah.
worlds different from what I wrote back in, 2010 or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or before that even, 2001. And that was finding personal truth and, being able to write about and deal with things that I cannot express to people. So I put that down on paper, and in a lot of cases, if you look at the Jane poems that are in here, or you look at the Bob Owens or Chuck Owens, whatever the guy's name is, there are some things in here that are very personal to me. Like, you walk out of the military. One of the things about being a veteran, which is really hard, especially having been through combat, other things, is you really have a perspective that other people just can't understand. People who've lived their whole life in, whatever, Shangri-La, a suburb of Shangri-La. I don't, you come back, and that's, and that's been happening since time immemorial, right? Like, guys came back from World War I, and they were like, why don't they want to talk to anybody? I don't understand.
Because they saw some heavy shit. Nobody wants to relive that.
Yeah, well, I mean, the tough thing is to talk to someone, even on a normal basis. And one of the memes that I love that I saw was like a veteran who had gone to school, right? And he got back from the military, he's got back from combat or whatever, and he went to school, and he's sitting there, and he goes up to the professor and he says, "Professor," and the professor's like, "Hey, you haven't turned in your paper yet. It's due tomorrow. Do you know what happens if your paper is late?" And so the guy kind of cringes and goes, "Yes, sir. People die, sir." And the professor's like, "Holy shit. What did they do to you?"
Not that. That does not happen here.
What did they do to you? Because that's what was drilled in.
Ingrained,
Right?
yeah.
From the first day in basic training to the day you got your DD 214 and they sent you on your way, is that if you
screw
make
up,
a
somebody's
mistake,
dying.
yeah, somebody's going to die. Because, and God knows you don't spend your whole life in the military in combat situation. Most of it's spent waiting to go in. So, you do that, and you train, and even in training, you train like you fight. So the whole thing is, the emphasis is on, you make a mistake, people are going to die. The one of the OCS, one of the officer training phrases, that the catchphrase that they had was called the unforgiving minute, right? Which is really like the unforgiving 3 seconds. The first time you encounter the enemy, as a leader, as an officer, you have to give orders. Your orders have to be concise, they have to be understood, and they have to be executed. in that 3-second period. And if you don't, you can lose an entire platoon like that, because you couldn't react. So, from that perspective, just helping these guys. For me, I kind of got out of the military in like 2001, and then I worked for the government in other capacities, for a long time after that. But well, that's another thing that our government does for us, which is nice, is they sort of have a, the 3-step process. You go, you're in the military, they pass you right into civil service. You live inside of this world of, your boss knows what you're going through because your boss went through it.
Right.
And then you grow through that and stuff like that. So, but anyway, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, the fact is that I have a job, at this point, that I wouldn't need the amount of money that these books are going to produce for me. So, giving it to something that does something that I care about, that is meaningful. It expresses my values.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's incredible. I love that. I interrupted you earlier. You were talking about your name, but I think it is important to talk about what you give back to that community. I think that's.
Stop trying to make me into a human being.
What was the Easter egg in the other,
Okay.
in the more complete verse?
So if you open it up and you look at the backside here, you can see each book is divided up, and each book kind of addresses a period of my life. Okay.
Right.
And if you look at it under the title of the book, inside of this, there are 13 books, or 14. If you look under the title of the book, each one has a different author's name.
I've actually noticed that on Amazon, because you're really hard to find on Amazon, because sometimes you're Charles B. Cooper III, sometimes you're Doctor, sometimes you're Chuck. Why is that? Is it because it's a different time of your life? So here's when I was Chuck, and here's when I had all that shit behind my name. I mean, all those credentials behind my name. Sorry.
Piles of manure piled higher and deeper. So, but if you look at, so the first 2 sections of the book, Poor Farm Park and Open Woods and Fairy Tales, both of those are pre-Army. They're pre, professional life. They're pre.
So that's Chuck.
That's all Chuck, right? So people who knew me before Moment X, called me Chuck. If you look at like the next one should be Army Days. Yeah, it just Cooper, because that's all anybody ever called.
You just go by your last name, Cooper. Right.
You look like you want to go on a mission. Okay.
And that's interesting. I had. You're absolutely right, because I'm even your headers in the complete second verse. This is Dr. Charles Cooper. This one is I just lost it.
Yeah, so the intelligence.
Not like we're recording or anything. This is Chuck Cooper. This is Charles Cooper, PhD.
The intelligence one should say prophet. Sort of.
I've never noticed that even your headers are different. Brother Charles Cooper.
Yeah, that's for the Masonic stuff.
Wow, Chuckster. I didn't know that. I just gave you a new one. I don't think I've ever
No,
called you
no,
Chuckster.
no. People used to call me Chuckster when I used to run. So, don't bring that back because I don't want any part of
I don't think I've ever done that. But that tells anybody watching how far we go back, because you've always been Chuck to me. But I don't know if Chuck is, you know,
Well, I was
your kid
talking-
name, and I'm not allowed to use it because you're a professional adult with, all
My
this.
son is going by Charlie now, which is interesting.
Charlie?
Yeah, because we've
He
never.
very adamant, Charles? Like,
Uh,
call me
well,
Charles.
so when he was young, I didn't want to call him Little Chuck because I felt like I was called Little Chuck and it was kind of diminutive, and
Yeah.
nobody calls me Little Chuck anymore, obviously since I stopped running. And so but we called him Brad when he was born, which is the middle name, right? Charles Bradford Cooper.
Right.
We called him Brad. And then about third grade or fourth grade, he approached Sheila and said, I don't think people will take me seriously if I'm called Brad.
Brad's not a serious name. I am a serious third grader.
Exactly.
I need to be taken seriously.
He's very, very needed to be taken seriously. It was required. And so he wanted to be
Teachers don't call on me. The kids pick on me. Sorry, go ahead. Nobody's taking me serious. My science fair project didn't get any. Sorry, go ahead.
His erupting
stand-up Stella show.
His erupting volcano is not.
So then he was Charles, and now he's like a
Then he was Charles,
full-blown
when
adult, and he's Charlie.
Yeah, when he went off to college, he decided he wanted to be Charlie.
Nice.
But him as well as me, it sort of shows that you do evolve through this life.
You do. Well, you've gone from Chuck to Chuckster.
Yeah, and obviously.
So the only thing, or not the only thing, I don't know what I was going to say. We've only talked about poetry, but you also write prose. I don't know how I was going to word that. Like, I'm stuck because I started with the only thing, and then I was like, that's not what you were going to say. That's not how you want to say it. For the 2021 annual, which I have right here.
So it's incredibly beautiful.
Really blending into my background because my background is purple because I made it. Yeah, Jonas did a fabulous job
Stella
as
color.
always with the Stella colors. You you did not submit poetry this year, even though I accepted your 5 pieces that actually belong to Molly Neely. And then
I don't know what that says to Molly Neely, that you thought you looked at it and said, "Oh, this is like Charles." All right, fine.
Well, it gets funnier though, because she didn't know that I accepted all 5 of her pieces until the marketing pieces started going out, and she's like, "Whoa, Stella, I thought you just accepted 1." I have all 5, and I was like, "Yeah, is that okay?" Because I originally thought they belonged to Charles. So you're lucky you're actually getting credit for what you wrote, because I sent him the email that said, "Congratulations, I'm taking your poetry." Poor Molly. And last year I tried to interview her. I don't even think I'm going to have a chance to try this year. And it never worked out because we couldn't get connected. Like, we could see each other, but we couldn't hear each other, or we could hear each other and not see each other. I don't remember. But so poor Molly. Molly, we love you.
Yeah,
And
Molly
you get credit for your poetry this year.
Molly is actually amazing. She's an amazing
She is. She's fantastic. She's fantastic. So you did not submit poetry this year. Molly did, along with a bunch of other poets. This year you have a short story in the annual. And well, just tell me about that, because I think it's fantastic. I look, I have a fidget spinner. I just noticed, like, I'm showing everybody what I'm doing below.
Well, yeah.
Fidgeting because I'm talking to. It's not even a spinner; it's a cube. See, I don't even know what the hell it is.
It looks like,
Um,
dice, but from
just a
like
cube.
a junior D&D game, maybe.
Oh,
Like where
or one of those like writing prompt or yeah, anyway. Yeah, it's a fidget cube
you have that,
because
like the writing prop Magic 8 Ball.
yeah, no,
That's a good
no.
idea.
I have here, this is what I have. This is how I write. Let me just pull them all up from my desk here. This is these are my ideas. This is don't forget to write about this and that, and don't forget that. Here's an idea. Yeah,
Yeah,
I live
that's
on post-it
I
notes.
have notes files in my phone that are completely incomprehensible because I wrote
Did
down
it
like
talk?
2 words that meant something to me at that moment and sparked the whole idea, right?
And you're like, I'm totally gonna remember. Like, those are my keywords.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
gonna know exactly what that means.
Like
5,000 words will follow.
3 weeks from now, these 2 words will cause the same gut reaction.
No, you open up your phone, you're like, red dog. The hell does that mean?
Oh my God.
Yeah, I think as
There's
writers,
a
we've all
restaurant
been
in
there.
Frederick called Red Horse, but I don't know if they're open anymore. They've been
That's
closed the
funny.
last like 3 times I've been there.